This next article from the Daily Mail, Jeffrey Epstein was secretly bankrolled by Ghislaine Maxwell's disgraced newspaper baron father, Robert. Sworn testimony claims the source of Jeffrey Epstein's massive fortune, valued at nearly $636 million after his jailed cell suicide last fall, has long been shrouded in mystery. Epstein ran his own personal management fund, but its assets have never been made public. Now, an insider has revealed that Epstein received a helping hand from disgraced British newspaper baron Robert Maxwell, his Madame Ghislaine Maxwell's father. The source said famed modeling scout and Epstein associate Jean-Luc Brunel exposed Robert Maxwell's ties to Epstein nearly 20 years ago. So here we can see a picture of Ghislaine and Robert Maxwell, pictured in the Cannes Film Festival in 1987. Robert Maxwell mysteriously died at age 68 in 1991 before Ghislaine was publicly linked to Epstein. Yes, she was a hottie McGatty back then. U.S. investigators are investigating Epstein's alleged child sex trafficking ring, and the accomplices who helped facilitate it now have reportedly secured sworn testimony about Robert Maxwell's involvement with pedophilia. Robert Maxwell is known as one of Britain's most powerful media magnates and most notorious fraudsters. He spent his business career investing in Israel's economy after losing most of his family fortune during the Holocaust and moving to the UK to build a publishing empire. He died at age 68 in suspicious circumstances after falling off of his mega yacht in 1991. After his death, he was revealed to have stolen $500 million or 500 million lira or $623 million from an employee pension fund. Here's a video. It says Ghislaine has secret stash of Epstein sex tapes.
President Trump may be called as a key witness in Jeffrey Epstein's career of abuse. The commander-in-chief is named by a woman in a civil case that closely resembles the prosecution against Epstein's former Madam Ghislaine Maxwell. And as Ghislaine sits behind bars, we're learning she may have some so-called insurance of her own that could prevent her from spending years behind bars.
If you look here, the limestone, inside the house, behind like a space like that, they have cameras, and they have them everywhere.
Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein say every single corner of the late pedophile's New York City townhouse was recorded.
Jeffrey took me to a room which is a little bit back further than this window, and it's leaded, and it had all the computers and all these monitors, like the old-fashioned TV monitors, stacked.
The disgraced financier watched everything that happened inside the home and kept twisted sex tapes of his lurid affairs. Now, a former friend of Ghislaine Maxwell exclusively tells Daily Mail TV that the 58-year-old has a secret stash of Epstein's tapes. Not only did Epstein like to capture himself with underage girls, he wanted to make sure he had something to hold over the rich and powerful men who took advantage of his sick largesse.
When he told me people owe me favors and I will never get caught, I can get away with things, he meant it.
Ghislaine's one-time friend
Virginia
says
Roberts. Okay, I gotta call bullshit on this Virginia Roberts thing. So, Virginia Roberts, in that picture with Prince Andrews, let's look it up. So this one where they're trying to claim that Prince Andrews is a pedophile. Virginia Roberts is 17 years old in this picture. They're in the UK, where the age of consent is 16 and prostitution is legal. So I'm calling bullshit on this. That's fake news. That is 100% legal. Okay, apparently he gave her some money for a massage or something, and then they had sex. Okay, that's kind of borderline. That's not legal in the UK. But you cannot call this guy a pedophile for having sex with Virginia Roberts. You can't. I live in Oregon. The age of consent is 18. You go to Washington, right? Like 105 miles away from here. Age of consent is 16. It is not pedophilia to have sex with someone who is over the average age of consent in the world, because the average age of consent in the world is 16. Therefore, Prince Andrews is not a pedophile. Virginia Roberts is a slut. She was a hoe at that point in time. What she did was she heard, oh, I've got this friend, he's a prince. You want to have sex with a prince? And then she had sex with him, and then he gave her some money, and then it's like, oh, I got some money from this guy. Maybe I could get some more money. This is what I can't stand about this. I've covered this story for a long time, so I've looked into the details of the case, and it does look like bullshit. The whole Epstein thing does look like bullshit. There were some teenagers there. The vast majority of women were over the age of 18. Most of the women were masseuses who gave massages to people, and then occasionally they would have sex, but they had a modeling agency. The modeling agency brought forth some of the world's most beautiful models. I can't remember many of their names because I'm not, don't look at models that much. I don't like sluts. I don't like women who just use their beauty to get what they want. I view them as leeches, as predatorial, as leeches on society. But it does look like, when you look at the specifics of, okay, so they hired these women to give them massages, and then they would have them take off their clothes, and if they wouldn't fuck them, they would just jerk off. Okay, so they're trying to say that these masseuses who are over the age of 18, that they're somehow like sex trafficked, when the fact that they're giving massages, and the only way that they could be in this social circle, that they can afford to travel with these people, is if they do something. They have to work somehow to get the money to go on these planes and go travel somewhere. So you have, because let's go look at the picture of Bill Clinton with the masseuse. Here's what I'm looking for. So here is a picture of Bill Clinton getting a massage. So here they're saying, oh, this is the sex trafficking, pedophilia with Bill Clinton. This is bullshit. This woman is 22 years old. She's saying, oh, I was sex trafficked because I was a slut. No. Fucking rich dudes for money doesn't make you sex trafficked. It makes you a slut. Certifiably, if you're fucking rich dudes for money, you're a slut. If they are holding you against your will, or if they got you hooked on drugs and then got you into being a prostitute where they're trying to make money off of you, that's sex trafficking. Sex trafficking is human trafficking for sex. That's what it is. It's the definition of sex trafficking is that you were being trafficked, you were being sold. This wasn't happening with the Epstein thing. That's not happening. He had a bunch of money. He's obviously in bed with some cartel people. And they obviously had, some of these girls were sluts. Some of them were not, obviously, because some of the stories, they would strip down to their panties and give them a massage, and then they wouldn't have sex with them because they were having sex with a lot of girls. But a lot of these stories were just straight up falsified. Like you go read the lawsuits that are against Jeffrey Epstein from some of these accusations. They're insane. Some of the, like one of them, like this woman said that Jeffrey Epstein held this woman hostage for 4 years when she was 11 and had sex with her on a daily basis, multiple times a day. This could not have actually physically happened because the guys got a lot of different records that show that this never could not have happened. Physically would have been impossible for him to have locked up this girl for 4 years and raped her. So a lot of these people are actually just trying to sue Jeffrey Epstein to get money. You can't trust anything that they have to say. First off, why were they there in the first place? Because they were a slut? Okay, you're saying that this dude's a pedophile. It means prepubescent woman, or maybe possibly we could say statutory rapist is a pedophile. Although I think that pedophilia is really egregious. Boning a teenager is kind of pervy. Shame on you, like you're a pervert. That's statutory rape. But that's more like a monetary damage. So like there's a concept called child bribery. It's a bad thing. This is why you should not engage in statutory rape, because child bribery can harm women. It can turn them into a baby factory and cause them to live a life of poverty. Jeffrey Epstein, however, is a billionaire. If he knocks up the chick, he can pay for everything. That makes it more like a suable offense as opposed to an egregious act of a pedophile. This, not pedophilia. Woman is 22 years old. She's giving massages. And occasionally she'll fuck someone. If you're having sex with your clients, that means you're a fucking slut, dude. That means you're not a hooker. You're just a slut. So, but some of the girls definitely seems like some of them were a pretty hardcore statutory rape situation. So I'm not saying that they're all bullshit, but I am saying a large percentage of the stuff that is about Jeffrey Epstein is actually bullshit. Here, let's continue in the video.
Of everything for insurance. She stashed thumb drives that could implicate movers and shakers. The former confidant adds, "I'll bet anything that once it comes out that Ghislaine has those tapes, these men will be quaking in their Italian leather boots." The disgraced socialite is connected to some of the world's most influential men, including Prince Andrew and Donald Trump, and Ghislaine was an invited guest at the wedding of President Clinton's daughter, Chelsea. Meantime, we're learning what life is like for Ghislaine inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, where she's being held.
She would be locked down 23 hours a day. That 1 other hour would be set aside for recreation in a very small, caged-in area.
He says she should be in a 10 by 12 foot cell all by herself.
This individual could be a target for harm. It would be a badge of honor in the subculture of jails and prisons for another inmate to assault possibly injure and or kill her. If she is placed on suicide watch, a trained staff member would sit right outside of her.
They're basically just drawing up conspiracy theories. I don't know what to tell you. I think that they do have compromat. I don't think that there was a very large percentage of underage girls. From my examination of it, it does look like there was a string of women that they went through during a period of time, that some of them were under age 18. It does appear as though the vast majority of them were over the age of 18. So, it does. The girls that were out there partying up on their yacht, they're having the time of their life. It's not until after this whole thing that happened, when they can think that they can get money from suing the dude, that then they all start coming out with all of these allegations. At which point in time, it's like, first off, the reason why you were involved in that is because you were being a slut. That means that it can't be pedophilia because you're being a slut. If a woman is after the age of puberty and she's being a slut, that's not pedophilia. That's statutory rape. It is. It's statutory rape. By all stretches of the imagination, that's statutory rape. Because why? She has her legs open. She can have a baby. She needs to close them legs. Close them legs, girl. And don't be a slut. And then what happens? Okay. And then afterwards they're like, oh, now I can get money if I make it sound really bad. Because they want to get that hooker. So first off, they're fucking the dude for money. And then they're like, oh, we can get more money from the dude if we make him look like a demon. But the reality of the situation is that if you were at a party with these powerful people and you had a room and you stuck Jeffrey Epstein in it with a bunch of girls, some of them underage, some of them above age, you would find that the women love Jeffrey Epstein. They think he's awesome. And then if you stuck Joe Magoo Biden next to him, Joe Magoo Biden looks extremely creepy. Like, he's known as the groper, the White House streaker. Joe Biden, the dude who would walk around naked in the White House. True story. A Secret Service agent literally had to be restrained to prevent him from decking Joe the groper Biden because he grabbed his girlfriend's breast, just groped his girlfriend's breast. That's the guy running for president. That's Joe the groper Magoo Biden. So when you put him next to Epstein, Epstein looks way cool, like the suave dude. And then Biden looks like the creepy dude. So that's why I don't believe any of this shit with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't. But you definitely can see that there's some issues with Joe Biden. Like, obviously, Joe Biden is a sexual predator. Definitely should not be running the country at all in any way, shape, or form. What else do we got on Epstein? Here in this next article from Newsweek, everything that Ghislaine Maxwell has said about Jeffrey Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell revealed her true feelings about pedophile Jeffrey Epstein in a tearful conversation with a housekeeper, as British socialite is fighting to keep her 2016 deposition about Epstein's abuse sealed, and fresh accounts of her feelings about her former boyfriend has emerged. Ex-housekeeper Juan Elise says the British socialite once says, quote, I hate him, but I can't leave, and quote, after the coming out of Epstein's house crying. He made his comments in an interview about Prince Andrew's accuser Virginia Giuffre for podcast Broken, Seeking Justice, the one where Virginia Roberts was 17 and she hooked up with Prince Andrews, and they were in the UK, where the age of consent is 16 and where prostitution is legal. But you see, that's where you can see they write the news for the audience. They know this isn't pedophilia. They absolutely know Virginia Roberts is 17 years old. This is not 17 years old is like, you can almost vote. You can almost do pornography. That is definitely night and day different than a child. Virginia Roberts. No, sorry, Virginia Guthrie. Oh, wait, hold on. Virginia Guthrie, Virginia Roberts. Is it Guthrie Roberts? Her last name's Roberts. If Virginia Roberts had murdered someone, she would have been tried as an adult. Therefore, it's impossible for that to have been pedophilia because she's 17, the age of consent is 16, and prostitution is legal there. But they are writing the news for the people who are going to buy it. This is the biggest problem with Fake News Week, is that they specifically write these articles to get you to try to subscribe to them. That's why I put these sources up here, because usually they're fake news. So Elise, who worked at Epstein's mansion in Palm Beach, Florida, said, quote, "I told her many times, because she would sometimes come out crying in the car for me to drive. And I said, Ghislaine, why are you doing this? Why are you staying with this guy?" Elise described how Maxwell said, I hate him, but I can't leave. He added, I say, why? You have money, why aren't you not leaving? Guthrie replied, the relationship was confusing. The exchange offers a rare insight into the relationship between Maxwell and Epstein, which is at the center of the criminal trial jury next year. Maxwell denies charges she groomed minors to be abused by Epstein between 1994 and 97. So that's another thing about the Epstein story that they leave out, is that it was a brief period of time. And they probably were boning some teenagers, but they're also boning thousands of other women. It's like women were coming in and out. Vast majority were over 18. And then he has sex with a few teenagers. Like, you can't really call that a pedophile. You would call that a dude who can't keep his penis in his pants, a statutory rapist. I mean, that's a fair term for it. In my mind's eye, a pedophile is a very egregious thing. It's like where you're having sex with defenseless children. This is like they were models. They had boobs. They had pubic hair. They're modeling. That's why they're there. And then he did some child bribery, which is, in my mind, is definitely still a something that you should be able to sue somebody for. It is. People don't want you fucking their teenager daughter. Like, nobody wants that. So therefore, we say that's child bribery. That's not legal. And in the state where he was caught, the age of consent was 18. So, I mean, you could say that. I just think it's not right to say that somebody like boned a teenager or that they're a pedophile, because that's just physically, that's not true. That the definition of the word has always been prepubescent girl, not child bribery after puberty. Further insight can be drawn from an email sent by Maxwell to Epstein in January 2015, where he was handed an 18-month sentence in 2008 following a controversial plea bargain. So that was an incident where he was charged with statutory rape of one minor. There was other minors that were involved in that incident. Not all of them were minors. It seemed like they had a bunch of models. They're always trying to recruit new models. They need to bring them in as young as possible before they go to another modeling agency. So that's why they were going and seeking the people they were. I mean, first, Epstein gets to tap X percentage of the models because they're really slutty and they'll take off their clothes and give old dude hand jobs for money. But, I'm sorry. If that was my daughter that did that, I'd be pissed off at her. I wouldn't say, you're a victim here. I would say, your ass is grounded for the rest of your life. You're never coming out of your room again because you're being a hooker. Maybe in my mind's eye, I think that if you are harsh with that and say, I'm not going to have any sort of sympathy for you at all. Don't be a prostitute. If you're actually being a hooker, I don't want to have anything to do with you. They probably wouldn't do that. Maybe that's just my own tough dad mentality. Maybe I'm wrong. If you think I'm a piece of shit, comment down below. According to BBC, Maxwell said, quote, I would appreciate it if Shelley would come out, say she was your girlfriend. I think she was from N99 to 2002. Epstein replied, quote, okay with me, end quote. He added, quote, you've done nothing wrong, and I would urge you to start acting like it. Go outside, head high, not as escaping sick convict, go to parties, deal with it, end quote. Convicted pedophile also sent Maxwell what appears to be a statement designed for her release to the media. Quoted in The Independent, it read, since J.E. was charged in 2007 for solicitation of a prostitute, I had been in the target of outright lies, innuendo, slander, defamation, and salacious gossip and harassment. And, quote, exchange was contained in a sealed evidence from a defamation case brought by Jeffery against Maxwell in 2015 and settled in 2017 with disclosed payout of the alleged victim. So I think Jeffery is there Virginia Roberts and then Virginia Jeffery? I don't know the difference between the two people right now. The message appears to contradict what Maxwell's team has said on behalf of her relationship with Epstein. Her lawyers told the court that in the case that she hadn't been in contact with Epstein for decades. Not too much in there. I mean, definitely, obviously the guy was guilty of boning some teenagers, but it doesn't really look like there's a lot of other evidence coming out. People make up these things about the secret tapes or whatever. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe the ball will drop and then it turns out Bill Clinton is a pedophile. But I really highly doubt that that's true. I really highly doubt that they actually had some epidemic of pedophilia. It's probably more along the lines of they had a whole bunch of hot model chicks. Small amount of them were under the age of 18 and they engaged in statutory rape. Does that mean that the guy should get a death sentence in jail? I definitely think that he should not have gotten a death sentence in jail. It seems like it was a political prosecution. The federal prosecutors in New York didn't feel like that initial state charge was enough. So they instigated a political prosecution. But I don't know. Some of the stories were, they said one of the girls was like age 14. That to me is getting egregious. I think 14 is the point where you could start calling somebody a pedophile. Maybe, I don't know. Probably, yeah. Maybe, I mean, if they were between 16 and 18, I'm not going to call that person a pedophile. That's not pedophilia. The average age of consent in the world is 16. So therefore, I mean, it depends on the state, but I mean, in Washington state, he's not a pedophile. In Oregon, he is a pedophile. He's not I don't know. He's a statutory rapist. That makes sense. It's still an egregious crime, but not trying to justify it. You should always follow the laws in your state. Should never never raped people. It is rape, still rape. Rape's rape. But pedophilia is an egregious crime. Jeffrey Epstein, if you try to put him in the category of pedophile, every other pedophile out in their own world is going to immortalize this guy and say he's the what they would view as the apex. And that's not, that to me is encouraging. That's like diminishing the egregiousness of a real pedophile, like that Rosenbaum guy who got killed in the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting. Might not have been Kyle Rittenhouse who killed him. That guy had raped a 5-year-old kid. That's fucking egregious. That's egregious. I have no idea how that guy's on the streets, but I feel like it's kind of much ado about nothing. Like, I'm more concerned about the blackmail. I'm really concerned about the blackmail. Who did he blackmail? That's what I want to know. I'm not concerned that the guy boned some teenagers. I don't give a fuck. What I'm really concerned about, does he have sex tapes of Bill Clinton boning minors or anybody else in the government that he's using to blackmail? That is egregious. That is, I think, the most significant thing in here. It is a very real possibility. Definitely should not discount that. With that, let's see. I think I'm done with this segment. You should make sure to like and subscribe. Ring that bell for notifications. We like to talk about this stuff a lot. Getting down to the truth of the matter. I do not like fake news. I do not like false accusations. I really don't like how this guy got a death sentence. That's the biggest thing about it. That just, it sucks. Because when you look into the matters of Epstein, it definitely looks like almost everybody loved this guy. Like he was, like Bill Clinton loved him. Most of the people who didn't look at this teenager thing, they liked the guy. So he got a death sentence for this, which I think is going too far. But better him than me. I've defended him too much. I'm not trying to defend him. I just think the whole thing with Virginia Roberts Guffreys, where she's, and Prince Andrews, where she's 17 years old. If this woman had murdered somebody, she'd be tried as an adult. And then the age of consent is 16 and prostitution is legal. That to me is egregious fake news. It's egregious. If you're trying to shame Prince Andrews for like getting a massage from this woman and then having sex with her, you need to shame Virginia Guffreys for being a slut. Or not Guffrey, Virginia Roberts. What's the difference between the two? Who is Virginia Guffrey? Let's I think it's Virginia Robert Guffrey, right? Yeah. Okay. So Virginia Roberts Guffrey. Yeah, this one. I really do think that this is egregious. I think that this is bullshit. Everything about this is bullshit. Obviously, she's either trying to get money from a lawsuit. And she's like, she's like overweight now. And she's probably trying to say, oh, it's his fault. It's Prince Andrew's fault that I'm not rich now. It's his fault that I didn't try, that I froze up or I dated the wrong men. It's his fault. I don't think so. I think that she was being a slut. She gave him a massage and then she got some money. And then she wants to extort him for more money, saying, this guy ruined my life. Like, no, actually, you blaming other people ruined your life. From what I can tell, she hung out with rich people. She was banging a prince in a country where the legal age of consent is 16 and she was 17. And then they're trying to call the guy a pedophile to ruin his life. I take issue with that. I don't think that that's appropriate. I think that that's a despicable thing for someone to do, to try to destroy somebody's life over false accusations of pedophilia. She knows she's 17. You're 17, you murder somebody, you go to jail as an adult because you know better. 17 years old, you should know better than to be a prostitute. You should probably know better than to give old dudes massages and hand jobs with your panties on, or with wearing nothing but panties. Probably shouldn't be doing that. But they weren't raised right. Their parents didn't raise them right. So then they want to blame other people for their parents not raising them right. I'm sorry. I'm calling you out on it. That's fake news.